Hi, welcome to episode 500 of the Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Blue Sky. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, and that's where this episode and every episode show notes will be. I have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea where I sell my handspun yarns and knitting patterns, and this is episode 500. Hi, how are you? It is Monday, December 16th. And it is a not terribly cold day in Kansas City. We are seeing some sunshine and slightly warmer temperatures before we dip back down for the holidays next week. But I hope that you are doing well. I hope your December is going well. I can hardly believe it is half over. And I can hardly believe that today is episode 500. The podcast celebrated its 10th anniversary this summer. I started originally in August of 2014 when my husband was overseas. Work sent him to India for 3 weeks, and I was amusing myself and thought maybe this would be a fun thing to try, and it was a while ago. And I'm so glad that so many of you have joined and stuck around and are still joining me for episodes. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining with me. And I don't know if I'm going to say here's to 500 more because another 10 years is daunting, but let's keep going for a while. So stay tuned till the end and I'll talk a little bit about a giveaway. But otherwise, I think this podcast is going to be pretty much as normal. So today I am drinking tea that I have been hoarding forever, and that probably makes it not as good anymore. But I have this little bag of tea that I got in a swap on Ravelry way back in 2017. So like I said, I've been hoarding it forever from a tea shop in Sweden. It's called Tehornen. And it looks like this. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong, but that is the label, Tehornen, and it came from Uppsala, Sweden, which again, I'm sure I'm pronouncing it terribly. And it tastes of strawberries and something a little smoky, so it might be an oolong. There is an ingredient list on the bottom, but it is in Swedish. So, and I do not remember. I have looked it up at once upon a time, but I know it is strawberries in there, vanilla. I'm guessing based on what I can see, and I do not know, I think black tea. That's about as far as I can go. There are a number of other ingredients on here, but I do not know what they are. Anyway, I am drinking that today in my Hershey's mug. Obviously, no relation. I just wanted a big mug that I could get my arms around, and a little bit of black tea to get me through the afternoon. And it is delicious. I hope that you are doing well. My week is a little crazy. So it's the last week before Christmas, but I work for a quilting retailer, and of course, as you know, if you're going to make projects for the holidays, for the most part, you have to already have your supplies by now. So things are a little quiet this week. We're selling a bunch of gift cards, and not that we don't have good deals, but we're kind of putting the finishing touches on the year. And so there's a lot of hurry up and wait because it's a little bit slower, but we're trying to get everything done through Christmas. A lot of people will be taking time off over the next couple weeks. So we're trying to get a bunch of stuff knocked out before people leave. And so it's a little busy, but I'm actually not going anywhere. So I'm just, and I'm generally sort of a project manager. So I'm kind of keeping tabs on things, but my week itself is not super busy. We had a lovely, lovely weekend. So I need to do a big house cleaning before we, my in-laws will be joining us for Christmas. They'll be joining us technically on the 23rd through Christmas Eve and Christmas, although I have to work Christmas Eve and the day after Christmas. So I'm not really taking a lot of time. I'll just have Christmas Day. Anyway, I have been, I did some of the work on getting the house ready. Like I said, last weekend, I kind of vacuumed and put up the tree and got like a lot of stuff up and going. But what I really need to do is I really need to do like a deep clean of the kitchen and the dining area and make sure that I sweep and vacuum all those floors as well. And I realized last weekend I did not vacuum the stairs, and the stairs are up from both the garage and also the front door, which is where we track everything into the house. So like the landing and all the stairs really could use a good vacuuming. And I should do the bathrooms, and I need to wash the sheets in the guest bedroom. And so I had made this whole list, And I thought, you know what? I am going to take a weekend to just relax. Like we were gone. We did holiday stuff. We sort of recovered last weekend, and I was like, I am just going to take a weekend to relax and do whatever I want to do. And that includes napping and crafting. And next weekend will be my chore weekend. Now, usually I would say get the chores done and then relax next weekend. But I also know that if I clean the house now, it won't stay 100% clean. So I should just wait and do it next weekend. So this weekend I did nothing but take naps and craft. So Saturday, we hung out a little bit in the morning, and then we went to lunch, and then I came home and I did some sewing and I had a nap, and we watched some movies that night, and we watched more movies on Sunday. And yesterday morning we went and did the Great Santa Race. It was a 5K, and it marked my 26th 5K of the year. Now, not all of those were sponsored runs, but I challenged myself to do 26 5Ks this year. And I would say maybe half of them were sponsored runs where there was a medal and we paid and we showed up and we did our thing, and then probably the other half of them were just where I went out and had myself do it on a Sunday afternoon. And so basically half the Sundays or half the weekends in 2024, I did a 5K, which was good for me, so I'm very proud of that. And then we basically had kind of a Bruce Willis movie marathon. We watched Hudson Hawk, we watched Mercury is Rising, we watched The Jackal, and then we watched a couple other movies yesterday, and I got more sewing done, and I got a bunch of knitting done, and I took another nap, and honestly, it's been a really great weekend. I have quite a bit of crafting progress. Well, okay, I have some crafting progress to show you. And then this weekend, I'm hoping to squeeze in just a little bit more crafting before one of the things that I really have to clean up is the dining room table, is my sewing table, and I have everything laid out on there. I have the machine, I have all the fabrics that I'm currently using, I have the quilt that I'm piecing together and laying out the rows. And so I need to do some sewing this week, I hope, and then I need to pack everything up and get it off the table so that I can set the table so that we can have Christmas dinner there. So I have 3 knitting projects to show you this week. There has been some spinning going on, but I'm still working on the same braid, so there has not been enough to really talk to you about. And I would say that my progress has been somewhat good this week. Unfortunately, I do have well, I'm gonna have to rip something. So let's talk about what I've got on the needles and what's going well, and then I will talk about what I need to rip, and then I will do the giveaway, and then I will get John out of here. So I am still working on my Nanny Swaymo sweater. The pattern is Excuse Me by Stephen West, and I am using 2 yarns from Zen Yarn Garden, who is almost done, I think. They announced at the beginning of this year that they were closing down, they're retiring, and so they have been selling off their products all through the year. And so I got a sweater quantity of their Nightshade yarn, which is really pretty. It is one of the plies is black and the other the rest of it is dyed. It's a superwash merino, which is absolutely lovely. And I don't have a color for this shade. It looks a little bit like their Party Animal colorway, but I think it was Party Animal, or was it just Party? And then in contrast, I'm also holding a dark purple. And I am almost done with this skein, which means I am just about ready to start the sleeves. I'm not finished with the body, but I decided that I would, when I finished the second set of skeins that I put on this, I would go ahead and go back and do the sleeves so that when I'm doing the sleeves in the round, I don't have all the body hanging there. So I am fairly far into this. I am now probably 6 to 8 inches down from where I split for the sleeves. This is a sort of a turtleneck. All the seams are slightly askew, which is why it's called Excuse Me. It is a 2-color brioche sweater pattern, which is top down. I won't say raglan increases. It's top down, and it's got some increases and decreases in it that create the shaping, and all the lines are slightly askew. So here is the turtleneck that we did a long time ago, and then we have kind of the shaping where we got to the sleeves. And so I have, let me pull this sort of the way it needs to be. So this is where we got the yoke shaping, and I held stitches for the sleeves, and now I have worked on like 6 to 8 inches of the body, and I probably have a few more rounds before I run out of that dark purple. I am using the inside color just a little bit faster than I'm using the outside color. I think the reason for that is that I'm purling with this color, so I think I'm using up just a little bit more, but I could be wrong there. That is what I have so far. I just love the way the colors are showing up here. You can see actually that this skein was a little bit more colorful than the previous skein. I can see that striping just a little bit as I hold it up. So I am not alternating skeins because I've got two skeins going at any one time, and so I just felt like that was not a do. So this will be slightly striped, I think, but it'll be fine. I'm not concerned. I'm not worried about it. It will be what it will be, and I am really pleased to be moving on. So I think what I'm going to do next is pop back up and do some sleeves, and then I will go back down. I would like to make this, the one modification that I'm making to this is I would like to make it tunic length. And because I want to make it tunic length, I will need to go a little further than normal, which is also why I would like to do the sleeves first. So I will have to double check. I think I have a couple that are more colored like this and a couple that are more colored like the top. And my guess is I will probably try and find the more colored ones to go down on the body and maybe the less colored ones to go in the sleeves so that it looks sort of intentional, like I am kind of fading it down into a more colorful bit. So, because I would actually like it not to be like super striped, as it were. And at some point I'll put it on, try it on tubing and try it on, but for now I think when I hold it up to me, it feels like it's gonna be fine. Brioche is super, super, super stretchy. I am knitting the size medium. I'm a size 38 bust, and so I expect that it will have some ease and will be a really cute tunic, and because of all the colors in it, I think I can wear it with almost any color leggings, and so I'm super excited about that. I think it's going to be a great one to wear, and if I could finish it by the end of the year, that would be absolutely lovely, because I would be thrilled to be able to wear it in January when it's chilly outside. So that is my progress on that. Hopefully maybe I'll have a sleeve for you next week. I will plan on recording next Monday. It's going to be a holiday week. I expect things will be slow, but I will still record for you and we'll chat about stuff. So the next project that I'm working on is I am continuing to work on a whip. I told you I was going to do it. And so I am working on my socks, and these are 2 at a time, toe up, from Knit Picks, 2 at a time toe up on Magic Loop. And I think I talked to you last week. It's a free pattern from Knit Picks, and it will be linked in the show notes. And the link that I'm using is actually to the Knit Picks pattern. So it is available through Ravelry, but you don't have to get it through Ravelry. It's also available on the Knit Picks site for free. And it is a pattern designed to knit 2 at a time from the toe up, and it has a really interesting heel, which was actually why I selected to knit it. I've knit the pattern twice before, and I knit it on sample socks that I knit for Zen Yarn Garden, but I didn't really get to wear them or keep them, and I found the heel kind of curious. The heel flap starts kind of under the foot and then comes up and around the back of the foot, and so it gives you it's a slip stitch heel pattern, so it's got almost a double stranded effect, and it makes kind of a cushy heel and one that would maybe wear a little bit better. And so I decided to give it a try, and because I was going to be knitting toe up, I decided to pick some yarn that I wanted to use all of, and so I picked these fun gradient skeins from Freya. They're called her Soulmates sock sets, and it is 2 identically dyed skeins of yarn that in gradient form, so you can knit yourself a pair of gradient socks. And it is the Shanico Superwash Merino, so it is super squishy and super soft. You would swear there's some cashmere in here because it is so crazy soft. It is lovely, and I don't think I'm ever going to want to take these off. But the problem that I had was that I find knitting on Magic Loop really, really slow, and I decided that there was no reason that I had to knit these on Magic Loop. The instructions are written that way, so it's easier if you knit them on Magic Loop because you can follow the instructions exactly. But I am a sophisticated enough knitter that I decided that I could put them on double points, and that might make my life significantly easier. And I am pleased to report that I have made some great progress. So I am still far away from being done with a sock. Let me grab a sock blocker, so wait right here. you can see I'm dressed from the bust up. Really, I went to put this sweater on today. This is the party top by Abby Knits, and I went to put it on today, and I had kind of forgotten that it was a crop top, and so the first thing that I did was I put it on this morning without anything underneath, and like 6 inches of my stomach stuck out, and I was like, well, that is not a good look. So then I grabbed a tank top to put on underneath, but it's like an orange and gray striped tank top. So I'm a little bit of a mess. So that wasn't really meant for your eyes, but I'm sorry. There you go. Anyway, I am working on these socks, and I got a significant amount done. So when we last talked, I think I was somewhere around here, and I had a little bit left to go before I got to where I was supposed to start the heel. And what I did is I told you, I said, remember that the heel flap starts underneath the foot, and so you start doing the slip stitches, and then you turn the heel a little bit, and then you pick up along these edges, and then you decrease back out to the gusset, and when you are back to your original number of stitches, you stop doing the slip stitch heel flap. So I have gotten already a little bit above that, and I still have a significant amount of yarn, so my guess is these will be almost knee socks. I should say, so this pattern is sort of a recipe. It tells you, okay, knit until it's just wide enough to cover your toes, and okay, knit until you just get to where it touches your ankle bone, and those kinds of things. So you can kind of make these socks for yourself, but like there's no prescribed you should knit for this many inches. And so I knit along to kind of make it follow my foot, and my foot size is a 6.5 to a 7, and I do think these are going to be just a little bit long, but that's okay. I think I probably could have done it just a little bit shorter, but I kept knitting and trying it on and knitting and trying it on, and yeah, so this is where I ended up, but you can see there's like a little bit extra toe here, and usually socks that fit this sock blocker are great on me, so they might be a little bit big. I don't know. Anyway, so the only time it does give a length actually is it says that you should make the cuff like 5 to 7 inches, and I think mine's going to be longer because I want to get every last bit of this gorgeous yarn in there. So I've got like the really emerald green, and then we're going to go into kind of a tealy green, and the colorway is called Chameleon, and I love it. And so I am working to finish off this sock, but it will probably take me a little time because it's just, but the nice thing about it is I was very tied to the pattern for this whole section of the sock because I needed to watch what was happening, and because I've only knit it a couple times before, I really needed to pay attention to the instructions. And of course, now that I am just knitting round and round and round, I can do this practically in my sleep, and the only thing that I will need to decide is after 4 or 5 inches, I will need to start adding a few stitches at the back of the leg, probably to account for my calf muscles, particularly if these are going to be knee socks, so I will have to do a few increases on the back just to account for that. But in general, this is just going to be smooth sailing from here. So my plan worked as I wanted it to, which was I picked it back up, I did a whole bunch of knitting on it, and made a bunch of progress, and I don't know if these will both be finished by the end of the year. My hope actually is that this sock will be finished by the time I speak to you next, and then I could spend the last week of the year doing the last sock. And I don't know if I'm going to do a Christmas Eve cast on this year. I have yarn picked out for it, but my thought was that I'd really, really, really like to get these off the needle. I don't remember when I started these, but I'm willing to bet it was sometime last year, and I did not finish them or get very far into them, and I would really just like to finish them so that I can wear them. So that is my plan. And then I have the second sock is, oof, I dropped that. The second sock is still on the magic loop, but that's only because it's a convenient holding place. You can actually see now how much progress that I have made. So I really just had the toes done, and I really didn't have that much done. And so the second sock and the second skein are just waiting, and as soon as I finish the first one, I will pop these onto double pointed needles and get going. So I mean, technically I could find another set of double pointed needles and get through the heel now, and then just make that what I want to knit over the holidays, but I'm fine with it. It's fine. It's not a problem. So I'm very proud of myself for picking up a whip and working on it and making progress on it. And my hope is that I will maybe finish these by the first of the year. I really would like to finish a few things and get them off the needles. I have no illusions that I will not be starting the year with a completely clean slate, because I have some blanket projects and I have a top tee that I really should work on, and I don't know for sure if I'm going to finish my brioche sweater. I would very much like to, but I have a few other things that I'm doing, so we'll just have to see, and I will just keep working on them. So I did cast on something new this week, and I did talk to you about it last week, and unfortunately I think I'm gonna have to rip it. But I decided not to rip it before I showed you. So I talked last week about how I was going to make a baby sweater, and well, technically a toddler sweater because he's 18 months old. And I wanted to make the Child Sophisticate, which is a pattern by Linden Down. And actually I double checked and it is available on their website. You can purchase just straight through PayPal rather than just Ravelry. So that is the link that is in the show notes. It is a great sweater. It comes in a ton of different sizes. Baby Sophisticate is the newborn size, and that pattern is forever free on Ravelry. It is just a cute sweater with a shawl collar and some buttons. And then the Child Sophisticate takes it through later baby toddler sizes and then also child sizes. So my goal was to make the 18-month size, and I had 2 skeins of Blue Sky alpacas. Let me see if I have the tag here, because I usually try and keep the tag for us. Yeah, so it's Blue Sky Fibers, and it's their sweater worsted, which is a 55% superwash merino and 25% cotton, and it has 164 yards, I think 160 yards per skein. So, and the colorway is Water Slide, so it's just this great teal. So on to the problem. When I went to go pull needles out to start the sweater, I could not find the size that I wanted. The pattern is written to be either in 9s or 8s. I think 8s. I cannot remember. And I don't think it's open right now. Nope. The pattern is written either for 9s or 8s, and to me that means I need to go down 2 needle sizes. I think it was 9s. So to me that means I need to go down 2 needle sizes. So I was like, great, I'll find my 7s. And when I went to my needle folder, I had 3 plastic bags, like the plastic bags that needles come in from Addy, of 7s, and no 7s in there. And so I went and looked and tried to find some 7s, and I couldn't find a 7. And so I was like, you know what, fine, I'll just use an 8. That was a bad idea. So I did not swatch because it's worsted weight. I was knitting a baby sweater. It was going to be about the right size, except it's not the right size. And so, yeah. So what I should say is don't start a sweater without swatching. What I will say is, if you are relatively sure of what your gauge is and what size would be the right size to knit the sweater on, don't skip swatching and pick a needle size that you don't think is going to be the right one. Because the combination of those two is guaranteed to disappoint you. So what happened is the first night I knit through quite a bit of it. And then the second night, which was last night, the first night was, I think, Wednesday that I started this. And then the second night, which was last night, I got to where I was dividing for the sleeves and got into the body. And there's this section that at the end of all of the increases, because it's a top-down raglan, and so at the end of all the little increase sections, it says if you need to work even until you get to this length. Which is basically just the way of saying, like, make sure you have this much in your yoke before you divide for sleeves. And when I went to measure it, I thought, oh shit, because I was already over an inch more into the yoke than I needed to be. And I was like, okay, maybe it's just my row gauge that's off. And then I checked and I was also off by half a stitch in my stitches per inch. And stitches per inch, not stitches per 4 inches, stitches per inch. So basically, I'm knitting a sweater for probably, I was going for 18 months, but this is probably going to fit like a 24 to 36 month old. So like a 2 to 3 year old. And while the sweater would fit the baby eventually, like it's not the most cardinal sin. I kept knitting for a couple more rows because, you know, when something's bothering you and you're pretty sure you've screwed up and you're almost positive you're going to rip, the best thing to do is just keep knitting because that will make you feel better, right? So finally I was like, you know what, I'm gonna have to rip. So and I was sitting at knit night last night with friends, sorry, on Zoom on my computer, so right here. And I got to the point where I felt like I shouldn't knit anymore with my wrist, which is getting far better, by the way. I crafted last night for almost 2 hours before I was like, you know, I should probably stop. And that is far more than I have been able to do. I switched projects multiple times. I worked on, I worked on this sweater for a while, and then I spun a little bit, and then I worked on the sock for a little bit. So all different hand positions, all different kinds of things, different weights of yarn. But I am doing much better, so I'm very pleased with that. But when I stopped, I was like, well, let's see what I can find. And so I was trying to figure out where all my 7s are because I don't have that many projects in process that I've dropped. Like I have 2 or 3, but most of them are in fingering weight, so like they're not on 7s. And I figured out where one of my 7s is. One of my 7s is in a blanket project, but I didn't figure out where either of the other ones are. And then I was looking through something else and I found a US 6. And I decided, you know, since I am half a stitch, I'm a full half a stitch off on 1 inch, and over 5 inches, I was supposed to have 5 inches and I ended up with a little over 6. I decided that I could probably drop 2 more needle sizes. So I am going to recast on size 6s and see how that goes. I'm still not going to do a gauge swatch because apparently I'm stubborn and that's not what I do. But based on the fact that I have knitted on 8s and I understand what is definitely not working right now, I am going to rip this back. It's really only 2 nights of work. I mean, I'm sorry to do it, but I think I will be much happier if the sweater fits the little guy this winter. And I can always, if I end up overshooting the other direction just a little bit, I can always do a couple extra increases. So I have a few extra stitches around the middle, or around the bust and around the arms. But honestly, these arms look huge. Like I can fit my whole arm in there, and he's 2. He's not 2. He's like 18 months. So, yeah. So that was a little bit of a fail. And honestly, I knew it because I also, when I look at the fabric, it wasn't giving me the fabric that I wanted. So do as I say, not as I do. When you start a project and you aren't going to swatch and you aren't going to go in the needle size you want, and you do the first few rows and you're like, wow, this looks pretty loosey-goosey. Maybe I should have picked a different needle size. Go back and pick that needle size. Don't waste 2 nights because really it's not that much fun. So that is my work in progress. So my hope is that I will be back to here next week, maybe even a little further. So I have my work cut out for me this week, but I expect this week to be a little bit slow. Like I said, we are putting the finishing touches on things at work. I do have lots of stuff going on. I will have to do a bunch of cleaning next weekend, but I also just expect that there's going to be plenty of knitting time this week. And now that I'm kind of back in my groove, I'm looking forward to it. So thank you for hanging with me and listening to my mistakes and the do as I say, not as I do. And again, I would just like to thank those of you who have been with me since the beginning days. I got a message from a friend not that long ago who said she joined me around episode 10 or 15, which was a really long time ago. And the really cool thing is that I've met so many amazing people. And this particular friend actually lives in the UK. And when I went to the UK in 2019, we actually got to spend a part of a day together, which was lovely. She came out and rescued me from the airport after my red-eye flight. And she took me to yarn stores. And it was so nice. And I have met so many wonderful people through this podcast. So really, thank you all for watching, because this has been 10 years of me talking at a camera or my phone and hoping that someone out there is watching and listening and enjoying. And I very, very much appreciate you. So to sort of tie a bow around that, in past years when I have done giveaways, I have given away Handspun. And I thought about doing that this time, but my spinning production is just really way down right now, and I did not want you to have to wait for a prize. So I think the way I'm going to do this to make this really easy is I am going to say, please leave a comment on this podcast and tell me either something you have enjoyed about the show in the last 500 episodes, or something you would like me to do more of, or like me to do in the future, or a question you've always wanted me to answer that I've not answered. So something along those lines, just a comment, let me know you're watching and what you'd like to see or what you've enjoyed so I know what to do more of. And what I will do is next week on the podcast, so Monday, December 23rd, which will be the night before Christmas Eve, Christmas Eve, I will draw a winner, and to the winner I will purchase a $50 gift card for you to the shop of your choice. The only rule on that is it has to be something I can, well, I suppose it doesn't necessarily. I was going to say it has to be a shop that I can purchase from online, but I suppose if it's a local shop to you and you want to spend it in your local economy however you want, if I cannot purchase an e-gift card, I suppose I can just send you the cash via PayPal. So leave me a comment if you are interested in being entered into the drawing, and I will offer a $50 gift card. If by some chance you are absolutely dying for some handspun, we can try and work something out, but I will let you know that there will be probably at least a month delay on that because we will have to pick something out for me to spin. I will have to spin it, wash it, wrap it up, and get it out to you in the mail. And I used to have a turnaround time of about 2 weeks, but I want to allow myself at least 4 weeks for that. So there are options, I guess. I should probably just pick one, but I want to please you. There are some options. So like I said, leave a comment and I will pick a winner and get in touch with you, and then we can negotiate what it is you would like to receive as a prize. Thank you so much for watching me. If I will see you again before Christmas, because I will record on the 23rd, but in case I don't catch you before you celebrate your holidays, I hope that everyone has lovely holidays. I know we have Christmas on the 25th. Actually, the first night of Hanukkah is the 25th as well, and I do not know exactly when Kwanzaa starts, but I know it's around the same time. I wish you a wonderful holiday season. I wish you much happiness and warmth and laughter with your family and friends if you choose to be with them, and if you choose to celebrate alone because all you want is peace and quiet, I wish you the most peaceful and quiet holiday you can imagine. I wish you crafting supplies and wonderful crafting ideas. Maybe on the next podcast or the one after, I'll talk a little bit about what I want to think about for next year. Because you know me, I'm always full of plans. I don't want to make any resolutions, but especially because life sometimes has other plans like I did not anticipate this year. Anyway, I will stop rambling. Thank you for joining me for 500 episodes. Here's to many more episodes. And I will say, as I always do, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.